Greetings, friends. Welcome back to the Film Alchemist podcast. Thank you so much for joining us today on our very, very, very special episode. We'll be discussing the new Nick Cage movie, Willy's Wonderland. It just sounds so good rolling off the tongue. New Nick Cage movie. We should just make them national holidays, days of celebration. So that's what we're trying to do here today. Another thing to celebrate, we were fortunate enough to be joined by our friend, the great and powerful Carmelita Valdez McKoy. She is always so delightful to talk to, and we're very fortunate that she was able to join us for today's discussion. Before that, though, a couple little bits of business we got to get to. If you could take a second right now, especially if you find us on Apple Podcast app, leave us a 5-star rating and a couple sentences of review, right? 5-star, little description of why you like spending time with the show. Means the world to us. Helps us defeat the algorithmic, satanic, animatronic, algorithmic overlords in our own life. You can subscribe to our YouTube channel, Film Alchemist, over on YouTube. We do video versions of this podcast and some other fun stuff that you can find over there. Also, you can email the show, filmalchemistpod@gmail.com, or reach out to us on any of the social media sites. If you're there, we're there. It's a great way to let us know movies you'd like to hear covered, especially these new ones, which we're doing more of. Themes for a month, double features. If there are guest hosts you'd love us to reach out to. Any of that stuff, guys. If you want to hear us talk about it, that's what we want to give you. So reach out and let us know. Again, thank you so much, guys, for all you've been doing for us in the show. We see you, and it warms our little black hearts. So thank you so much for that. All right, guys. Today, Willy's Wonderland. Nick Cage versus satanic Chuck E. Cheese, essentially, right? It gives you all the good fun you want. Has some really interesting questions, which we dive into. And again, we're joined by the just amazingly insightful and interesting Carmelita Valdez McKoy. You can find her on Twitter and Letterboxd at Carmelita Says. We're very fortunate she was able to spend some more time with us. Go back. Last Tuesday, she joined us for an episode on another movie we've been waiting a long time for, Saint Maud. Fantastic movie. Great episode. So thank you so much from us to Carmelita for clearing out some time for us. And we hope you guys enjoy our discussion of Willy's Wonderland. All right, guys, welcome back to the show. Our friend Carmelita Valdez McKoy. Welcome back.
Hello. Thank you for having me back.
Of course. I hope you guys have listened to Carmelita and us discuss Saint Maud a week ago. Today, not as elevated of a film, but not by much.
How dare you?
We're taking a step down into the hell that is Willy's Wonderland.
Apologies, our film scholar here. Very falutin'.
Yeah, I have Criterion Channel now. Sorry. Taste.
Clearly.
Yeah, I watched a Japanese film the other day, I think. No. All right. So we saw the trailer for Willy's Wonderland, and like everyone else, we're like, if there was a show that needs to cover this film, because we consider ourselves the Saint Mauds of Nicolas Cage. Where we just talk to him, we worship him, we spread his word around as best we can.
Yes.
Carmelita, we've been big fans of the late phase Nicolas Cage rebirth, if you will, right? Instead of kind of those Walmart bin action movies, now he's kind of transitioning into some weird horror and science fiction. What do you make of this new phase Cage, and what did you think of Willy's Wonderland? Just kick us off.
So I'm going to say that I'm here for it. I'm all the way in.
For sure.
Sold. I also want to let you guys know, you might not know this, I started listening to Film Alchemist because of your Nicolas Cage month.
Oh. See, here we go. Of course we had to have you on for this.
So glad you're here for this then.
That was the moment that I fell in love with the Film Alchemist. You did a whole month of Nicolas Cage movies back in the day. I was hooked. And now here we are. And Nicolas Cage, whatever he does, I'm here for it. And he does, some of the projects he works on are not great films, sure, but he always brings it. And I always want to know what he's going to do with the material, whatever the material is.
Yeah.
And I think, I think he's in on the way people perceive him. He knows how he's perceived, and he's just going for it. And
yeah,
I mean, sign me up.
He's kind of on the opposite trajectory of Bruce Willis, right? Where Bruce is like, I'm still going to hold on and be who I think I am. And Nicolas Cage is like, oh, you want me to fight Chuck E. Cheese? Yeah, I'm there. When do we start shooting?
And it's glorious.
Yeah. It really is, though. There's something very refreshing about, because I think people forget this is like A-list, top 5 male leads, Oscar-winning guy.
Everyone forgets that Nicolas Cage dominated movies in the 90s.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
In the early 90s, he was doing art movies. Like, he won an Oscar. And then, like, 97 to 99, he just did hit after hit of action movies. He was the guy.
Where you started to get those little slip-ins where you're like, wait, something feels amiss. And then he's like, National Treasure, boom. You're like, oh, I guess he's still got
he's fine. He's bankable.
Wait, Drive Angry. What is happening? Like,
what's
something unusual. Yeah.
Yeah, like, and then, I think it's like he did his stint with the superhero movies. Like, he did the 2 Ghost Rider flicks. And then he's just kind of been building from there in this. It's not like this upwards trajectory. For some it is, like myself. But it's more this, like, just going to stay here. This level right here is where I'm going to live in. And he's done a really good job of making movies that should not have any business being interesting simply by being in them. I don't know what it is about. We tried figuring this out when we did the month of Cage. I still don't know what makes him so amazing, but I am determined to not find out because I just want to keep experiencing Nicolas Cage movies.
It's so esoteric with you.
Especially
Carmelita, what makes
like Willy's Wonderland.
This is, I would argue, what he's done a good job of, right? Is he finds the great log line, right? Like, you want to see a Lovecraft featuring Nicolas Cage, right? You want to see, I guess I wouldn't even know how to begin writing the log line for Mandy. Kidnapping, colors, axe, fighting.
Think about.
But this one, right, is just satanic Chuck E. Cheese, plus John Wick, plus Nicolas Cage. You're like, I'd watch that movie.
Well, I mean, think of anybody else being the star of a movie like National Treasure. Like, a guy steals the Declaration of Independence. It's Nicolas Cage. You have my attention.
Yeah.
Like, that's the pitch.
But see, that's the difference, though, because I feel like any leading man could have done National Treasure and been okay. I don't know that a lot of them could have done this. Like, could Tom Hanks do Willy's Wonderland? I don't think so.
No.
So, Carmelita, walk me through your opening thoughts on Willy's Wonderland. We'll dive right into this one.
So, and maybe I'm being a fangirl, but I mean, the best part about this movie was all the Nicolas Cage stuff. Any scene he was in was captivating, thoroughly entertaining, funny, badass. Every moment that he was on screen in Willy's Wonderland was great. There's other points in the film that he's not in that are not as interesting.
Oh, you got a politic it.
But, like, I was, I'm going to go with them because I know that Nicolas Cage is at the end of the rainbow. You know what I'm saying? Like,
that's a great way to put it. Yes.
That's a great way to put it. Yes. He is the pot of gold at the end of this very strange rainbow.
Yeah, well, it's weird because I so instantly bought into the movie, right? So it's Nicolas Cage driving like an asshole, pounding energy drinks, his tire blows out. I'll tell you when I started to be like, something is unusual here, right? Was when he locks eyes with the underage girl, and then all of a sudden he's just, they're really getting into this bit. He doesn't talk. I'm not kidding you when I say I didn't know that was one of the pillars of this film. And I would be lying if I said, because this thing, it works to a point. There's a part of the film where I was like, I feel like I got cheated on hearing Nicolas Cage scream some monologues versus Chuck E. Cheese monsters. Like, I felt a little cheated. In a way.
There's definitely an aspect of a cheat when you don't let the cage loose and get that timeless yelp of Nicolas Cage having done anything.
They call it Cage Rage, right? That's kind of what he's become lately. He's so unhinged, right? That's like his calling card. This is caging Cage. And that's the trick of the movie, is it feels like, oh, it's Nicolas Cage going apeshit fighting animatronics. And you're like, this is probably, I mean, since adaptation, the most subdued Nicolas Cage has ever been in a movie. You wouldn't think it by the trailer, but really think on this movie. This has to be the most subdued Nicolas Cage.
I mean, that's
since maybe
that's what I love about it, though, right? That's part of what makes it so Nicolas Cage is the unexpected.
That's a good point. I'll go with you on that.
Not knowing, is he not going to talk? Yeah. And and I get to the point where I'm like, wow, he's not going to talk.
I know. Well, I kept waiting. I thought it was going to be like a Silent Bob thing. I'm like, he's going to drop a banger. Like somewhere in the last 10 minutes, he's going to say something, and it's just going to be the best moment of my life. And he didn't. He just fucking rolls away.
He shared that pop with that girl at the end. I'm like, come on, man. Like,
I got thoughts on him and that young lady. I did not like you.
But like, it is this weird movie where Nicolas Cage does not get an utterance, let alone like the classic Nick Cage scream, the Cage Rage, as we would call it. Instead, we get this really measured, subdued version of him that, like, while we don't get the scream, we do get the irks, I would say. Like, the facial expressions are there, but the sound behind them does not exist. It's a really weird movie. Like, I mean, there's really not a lot to go in. Like, honestly, he's basically set up by the townspeople. He goes in to clean Willy's Wonderland. It was originally called Wally's Wonderland, wasn't it? I think that was the original title. Either way, he goes in to clean Willy's Wonderland. Animatronics come alive. He kills them. That's it. Like, that's like the movie. Like, again, the elevator pitch is Nick Cage versus Chuck E. Cheese, and you're like, I'll buy it.
But with Nicolas Cage, though, it's what's in between, because so before we get too far off on these things, but like Nicolas Cage at the pinball machine, Nicolas Cage just changing his shirt, Nicolas Cage not being shocked that a fucking ostrich is attacking him, right? So that's the thing. That's where he becomes this beautiful palette, is you're like, wait, I have questions. And the movie's like, no time for questions, right? Because if I have a critique of this film, right, is that, and maybe this gets to the I wish he would have talked to, I feel like they maybe didn't believe in the premise of what they were selling. I think maybe they wussed out a little bit, right?
Sure.
Because if you're asking me, do I need any teenager that exists in this movie? No, they serve not one narrative bit of value, right? Like, we see some of them get killed, but none of the kills are super. I guess the frog neck snapping was interesting-ish, but like, they're not really that great. They try
to pay off the main girl, but it, like, you find out way too late. I think you figure it out pretty quickly, actually, if you're watching the movie. But like
the first time you see her.
Yeah, the first time you see her, you know it's her. Sorry, I don't know why I'm saying it this way. I'm probably just
trying
to
This is not a Pandora's box of slowly opening mysteries.
Right. Like, it's not this like weird slow reveal. There's literally nothing mysterious about the fact that she knows where it is. She knows what's inside.
Right. They don't explicitly tell you what you're supposed to already.
It's not a thing where they're just like, hey, this is the movie. Like, they give you the little, and again, I like the twist, which we'll get to that, but the general premise I buy into, specifically because Nick Cage literally stares down a giant animatronic ostrich and then beats it to death and then plays pinball. Like, those are the things that I expect from this movie, and I get them over and over again in 15-minute increments. It's exactly what I wanted.
I need you guys to walk through something with me.
Sure.
I need to flesh out this fucking wandering Don Quixote-like figure. This fucking Blade of the Immortal Man that Nicolas Cage is portraying in this film. I have a lot of questions, and I don't know if perhaps together we can uncover what his possible backstory would be. But there are some weird decisions just happening constantly. I don't think that's anything that we've hidden from you guys. So let me ask you some questions, and you tell me how you think these fit into a possible backstory. Okay. Why, oh why does Nicolas Cage have a wristwatch that is set for when he must start and finish his energy drinks?
Well, hang on. This is an important thing because you're asking these questions in a Nicolas Cage movie. So the answer automatically is...
We are going to assume that this 100% is forethought out and matters.
Hang on. The answer, no matter what you ask, is going to be unequivocally every time. Why not? It's a Nicolas Cage movie. Literally,
no, that's not what the game is. The game is you guys are going to pretend this is a deep, deep art house movie.
I have an answer for you.
Okay, Carmelita, go.
I have an answer for you. Having a personal history with substances, I think he needs to maintain a certain level of caffeine or whatever else is in that energy drink.
Guarina.
It's the chemistry experiment that is like when you are dependent on a substance. So that was my assumption right off the bat, was that he needs to maintain a certain level. And so, like he knows, like, okay, these days I'm clean and sober now, but I have my socially sanctioned vices like coffee.
Yep.
I have to start drinking coffee at a very particular time in the morning. I have to maintain a certain amount of coffee drinking and then stop by a certain point. I can't stop earlier than that. I have to drink coffee up to this certain point or I get like dope sick.
Oh, I have the same thing. I have my exact schedule for my 5 coffees I have every day. Right. I have them to the hour, right? My question, so like, here's the weird little extra hiccup, right? He clearly is very devout to this regimen, right? This fucking purple punch drink or whatever. The scene that throws me for a loop, though, and is like, this could be something more, is the fact that when they're getting attacked by the frog, he walks in and puts his hands up like he's the Notre Dame logo. And then he's like, tink, tink. He just hands the girl a knife and is like, I gotta go. Oh my god,
that was my favorite part of the movie, by the way. Sorry,
but that's one of those great things. You're like, because if I'm being honest, I feel like none of this makes any sense to me, right? But because it's Nicolas Cage, I so desperately want it to.
What? That is the exact opposite rationale for going into a Nicolas Cage movie. How dare you? No way. Nicolas
Cage is the playground where my mind can wander.
I forgot. Mandy was such a rational film.
How dare you, first up. When he leaves that room, though, there's something more than just, I like this drink. This is a life and death moment.
It's what Carmelita said. It's a regiment.
No, not when someone... Like, I like my coffee when I like it.
He has
if
the
I
dog
saw
tags
my kid about to
car.
get eaten by a fucking frog, I'd be like, I can wait 5 minutes.
Here's the other thing. He was told to take his breaks.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you, Carmelita.
He's at work. And he needs, by law, to take his breaks.
He's taking his Union 15. Everyone knows this.
Oh, he's a union man. Okay.
He's a union man.
Add that to the board.
Cleaners.
In the spider diagram of what Nicolas Cage's character is. He's a union man.
He's got to take his breaks.
Yeah.
It was break time.
He just looks at the girl. He's like, oh, you didn't pay your dues? I hope you survive.
He has a caffeine regimen to maintain.
I wondered...
All tracks.
If those were even energy drinks.
I actually just thought they were soda, to be honest with you.
Let me ask you this. Nicolas Cage clearly has superpowers in this film. He clearly has superhuman strength, right?
Does he?
He breaks handcuffs in half. He kills the animatronic demons with his fucking thighs. He Xenia Onatops that fucking pixie's head.
Right.
Right?
They
put him in handcuffs like he'll clearly die, right? He's stronger than the rest of them.
That's for sure.
right? He's stronger than a normal man.
He is abnormally strong.
And he has to pound these energy drinks. And he doesn't talk. Are we sure Nicolas Cage is an actual human man in this movie?
Here's another thing to posit. Are we sure this is not the continuation of a Nicolas Cage character from a former Nicolas Cage movie?
Which one?
Question, could it be our man from Leaving Las Vegas who survived his bout with death? And
he's
this
like,
is
I
his
just
new
really
regimen.
like energy drinks.
He's now hooked on sodies. This is his new regimen.
Now I'm hooked on soda pop. I would say this, if this was a sequel, it'd be bringing out your animatronic dead. Maybe that. He's like, I finally got a good 8 hours and I feel much better now. No, but okay, so this is something that kind of struck me, right? So he does all this, and there's something going on with this pinball machine. Something very wrong, because the movie plays it like Nicolas Cage is fucking that pinball machine.
Yes.
Every time he touches that pinball machine, it is more romantic than it should be. Right?
It's the
That's why
joy
he
of
does the
pinball.
Madonna moves.
I think it's more than that. The scene I thought we were going to get, I'm telling you, I thought it was going to happen, is that we saw him post his high score, and there would be initials. And we'd see that he was the former high record holder from like a long time ago, right? Because I had either this was some kind of ghost or a guy who had lost someone here, or he's an angelic force sent to clean up, right? I don't think he's just a man. Something is happening.
I'm going to say this as someone who enjoyed. I'm going to say this as someone who enjoyed this movie. He sees it out of the corner of his eye,
and he's like, "Oh shit."
As someone who enjoyed this movie, I'm going to say this. That's a little highbrow for this film, all right?
I think not. I think it's all there in plain sight. I think the teenagers.
You and I are not watching the same movie.
The 30 wasted minutes on teenagers was to throw us off the art house scent. That's my theory about it. But this is what I mean, right?
They're trying to fit a Cassavetes film in the middle of this.
Yeah. Work with me on these things, right? What is the difference with this man? Why this guy? There's something in the mixture of these things that is happening.
I mean, it's very John Wickish, you know? Like, that's like the new blueprint for most of these kinds of characters, is a guy with a very specific thing he does all the time.
Right.
John Wick shoots people in the face nonstop, no matter what.
John Wick doesn't want to fuck a pinball machine. That, to me, gives it this connection to the former glory of Willy's. Because as he cleans it up, it's a fucking Willy's Wonderland pinball machine, right?
Right.
So it's almost as if, in the way he cleans, and this could just be a Nicolas Cage, but he's so much better at cleaning than a human being could be at cleaning. He is so good at it, right? That he seemingly cares about this place more than he should.
Do you think the punch pop? Do you think the punch pop is like some form of anabolic steroids?
No, I think it's how the angel is able to keep his corporeal form.
I think it's his super soldier serum.
Yeah, something like that. I mean, I really do think that's why it's on a timer, and why he has to let that girl risk it is because if he doesn't drink the punch soda,
that's why he's got that's why he's got like a whole like 12-pack of them in the back of his car.
Right.
Yeah,
because he's driving.
Why would he choose that as a weapon at the end to be in the bag? There's some kind of heavenly stank on it.
Okay.
Why would he be whipping his sodies around? They're going to be all shaken up and gross. What if he doesn't have any more back by his Nickelback collection in the back of his Ford?
Don't shake him up like that.
Don't shake him up like that. That's not how you treat a respectable energy punch soda. I think there is a heaven's warrior, right? If I had to pitch you what I think Nicolas Cage is, right? I think there's a familiarity with this place and a true love, right? We see that in the scene when they'd have their menage a trois battle, right? Where he kicks the jukebox on, right? That's a Fonzie thing. That's someone who's been in the restaurant a bunch, right? He fucking knows.
You could be onto something.
How this melds with the backstory, I can only assume is that Nicolas Cage lost someone there in a horrific accident. I thought what they were tying us to is that he was going to be the weird-looking dad we saw at the first scene. And that they were going to be father-daughter. Instead, at the end, they just played it very creepy, like Nicolas Cage is going to try to get her all energy drinked up and hook up with her.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he just the professionaled her away. That's all.
was like, I know the cops were not super trustworthy in this movie, but if you see your daughter getting in a car with that version of Nicolas Cage, that's a red flag. That's a red flag.
That's a
Inappropriate.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm telling you, I think there's something extra going on with the cage.
I'll give you the cage. I do think the cage probably knew of the place and purposely sprung the booby trap so that he could dispatch. I like the idea that he is like a father of a murdered family or something like that, so he has some sort of gladiator level vendetta.
Maybe that's why he's driving so fast, is he's trying to cover all the roads to figure out where they're going to catch their victim. Why is he driving through town this day? Why is he not shocked by the ostrich?
Do you think maybe, okay, what if he is, besides being ex-military, perhaps he is the
They definitely
father.
showed dog tags in the first scene, exactly like I called. 100%
Maybe
called it.
he is the father of a victim when Willy wasn't an animatronic animal, a weasel.
When he was
but
out
like,
on tour.
when he was out,
Yeah.
like
when
out
he
in
was
the
out,
real world.
He was out on a tour in wherever war.
Like this is finally, he's
shit.
hunted Willy his entire time. He's been on the road.
I think
we
that's
just
cool.
I think we just constructed the backstory for Nicolas Cage.
Carmelita, walk
Titled
me
the janitor
through.
in this movie.
I think I've got some other ideas on how we can get through this, or other piece of evidence, but I want to detour for a minute. Walk me through the unveiling of the backstory of Willy's Wonderland, Carmelita. What did you make of this unfurling?
Oh man, I mean, there's a lot going on there. There's a lot
LinkedIn
going
for
on
serial
there.
killers,
So
yeah.
It's like we're getting this Nightmare on Elm Street kind of situation going. And so there's got to be like, it was one thing when it was just one guy who was like creepy pedophile molester / murderer.
Yeah.
But then he's like hiring all his buddies. And so it's like this cabal.
Yeah, it's like they all got on the chat rooms and they're like, "Hey guys, we all need jobs."
Right.
And
Well, also the fact that this hasn't been in like a serial killer TV show my mom watches. It's like Satan worshiping Night Stalker opens a Chuck E. Cheese. Like I feel like
Right.
that's just been sitting there waiting for like, I don't know when Mindhunter first started and they named him serial, but
Right.
like 60 years.
Like it's a lot. And I think I didn't expect this. Like
Yeah.
me neither. No, I was very taken.
I was very surprised because, you know, from seeing the trailer and just from growing up going to Chuck E. Cheese, like those animatronic, they're creepy.
They're fucking
creepy.
creepy. Yeah.
They're not right.
Well, you remember, I don't know if you're old enough. You remember the phase when they started shutting them out? So they'd have them behind curtains and you'd watch like a cartoon of Chuck E. Cheese.
Yeah.
And then they would only uncurtain them for like 30-second bursts and then cover them up again.
Yeah, I remember
Because they
that.
could tell the writing was on the wall.
Yeah,
We hate
they
these
knew.
fucking things.
Yeah, but there's once the illusion is broken and people just realize like no, this is creepy and icky.
Yeah.
Like there's just no going back. So I didn't realize we were gonna get this whole Nightmare on Elm Street, creepy molester, and then the satanic ritual. Like what?
Now
I
we're
was,
going
like,
Rosemary's
oddly-
birthday joint.
Yeah, it was like Nightmare on Elm Street and Child's Play with
Child's
Chuck E.
Play,
Cheese.
it's exactly Child's Play, right?
It was all of those things.
It's just this like weird concoction. It worked for me. Like I was like, oh, it's a very clever way to do this.
This is
However,
the thing, yeah.
it is
Oh, go
like
ahead.
one of those things where you're like, there's that like logic gap where you're like, after the first family never comes out of the arcade room, no one goes, this seems odd. Like there's a car left in the parking lot that no one claimed. It's again, that's like my only like that's
They
like
had a
always
serial
the
killer
problem is when that
valet.
stuff happens.
They had a serial killer excavator. Like they were taking care of all of this. No.
So many serial killers on the payroll.
Yeah, this is what I text you though, man. I feel like this movie left a lot of meat on the bone, right? Because to me, so Nicolas Cage is someone seeking revenge. Right? I think that becomes pretty clear halfway through the movie. This is not a happenstance, wandering Ronin guy. I think this is a very pointed thing. And I think that's why he keeps changing into the Willy shirt as well. I think it's important that he wears that shirt as he destroys these monsters, right? Because they make a very specific point of showing that like 8 times. But what I think is funny, though, right? So these people take the form of the fucking beast or whatever. I don't know who decided first, hey, who's going to be the fucking French creepy alligator? Like, if this was predetermined or if they shapeshifted based on the serial, maybe the serial killers.
I thought that too. I was like, are we going to know who the other serial killers are because that's who they shapeshifted into?
Right, but like,
which one would you want to be?
Oh God, probably
the satanic ritual, and you get put in the
gorilla?
Animatronic. I mean,
well, now I'm trying to think. Isn't the gorilla the one that's like says like, "Hey, you want to fuck Chunky?"
Yeah, well, he's the one.
I remember I like was reading the subtitles, and I was like, "Good Lord, we could have left that one out." Like, God damn.
I really liked the Mexican turtle. That was really funny.
Yeah, I like the weasel guy and the gorilla.
That was the one where my wife was walking past me watching, and she goes, "Is that a Mexican turtle?" I'm like, I don't know how to answer that question.
It's Tortuga, Andrea. Tortuga.
You can speak Spanish and everything.
Yeah, he speaks Spanish the whole time. Like, yeah, that was like the other thing. Like my wife's Guatemalan, and she was just like, "Is he speaking Spanish?" I'm like, "And it's a turtle." And she goes, "I'm gonna walk away." I'm like, "All right, cool. Yeah, do your thing."
She's like, "I get it, Nicolas Cage movie." No, but so this is the thing though. This movie left it on the line, right? Because if you have Nicolas Cage in here on a mission, right? He's going to clean this place both very literally and figuratively, right? Why do we spend more time with these teenagers that never develop a character than with the different serial killers? Right? Because they have that awesome room where he walks into the Pixie's room, right? It's like her little haunted forest where you can kind of see how that would be fun, but also like, ew, don't let your kids in there. That should have been for every single character. All of those animatronics should have had a story.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, why did we bring in the cop from out of town to not give us a dossier on the various serial killers?
There's a huge, 13 ghost thing that should have been going on in this movie. Like, a very missed opportunity.
Oh, good call.
And
because they brought the teenagers in, and when the teenagers are like, I'm horny, let's fuck. I was like, they just want to show some tits and ass.
By the way,
they
can
didn't
we
even
focus
do that.
real quick on those teenagers specifically? What era are these teenagers from? Because, there's the main girl who's, clearly from, the now times. And then the other girl teenager is, a hooker in 1982 New York.
I was going to say L.A. strip hooker.
Like a straight-up street-walking cheetah. And,
I'm really into Cinderella. That's my favorite music. What? Where did you come from?
It's so weird. Again, I was just I was
She's
sitting
even
there marveling at the choices for that character alone.
Wait
I'm
a sec.
Uh-oh.
What if she is lost in time? She chews the gum like she's fucking married to Al Bundy. She's lost. What if? What if? Maybe she's fucking on purpose. She's luring him into a trap. She's the honeypot.
For who?
Fucking Willy's. She's the honey dick. She's honey dicking him. She's honey dicking him. That's what my nana used to say.
I can't.
Isn't that weird?
No, I'm not getting on that train, man.
Why not? Everyone else wanted to. That's why she wanted to jump up on that ladder first. That's why we couldn't see her boobs, because that's probably where all the carnage was.
Is it just?
If you lift her bra up, it's just like shredded breast
Honestly,
meat.
It was just weird. I couldn't take my eyes off the blue eyeshadow she was wearing simply because I'm like, I don't think I've seen that since one of Jamie Lee Curtis's friends in Trading Places.
See, you haven't.
Long
you
time.
haven't.
Tell
him, Carmelita. Tell him I'm on to it.
No.
I don't know.
There's more going on than
there's
meets the
no
eye,
payoff
Alex.
for that Patsy though. That's the problem, and she gets murdered anyways.
I'm not saying it's a good choice. I'm saying it's a choice.
It's a choice. It is a choice.
It's a choice.
Her whole character is baffling because when we first get introduced to her, she's the one who removes the handcuffs.
Because she's tough. She's street. I was going to say also, as a kid who grew up in a trailer park, I was like, is that just how you think we all are? Right? There's a part of that.
So I was thinking okay, they're going to do this thing where, she's dressed provocatively in a way that people are going to judge her based on the way she looks. But what we're going to come to find out is she's really smart and capable. And then...
Oh, you mean character development?
Right. And then it just devolves into screwing in the
like really quickly too. She literally goes, "Oh, I'm kind of horny in here," and you're like, "Where did that come from?" And
well, like
where are you
she
from?
fell through the roof and probably could have broken something, and then she just hears the movie trailer, "Happy birthday." She's like, "Oh my God, WAP, let's go!"
Oh my God, whoa,
like,
yeah, please.
What?
It's so weird. It happens
to be
so
fair,
fast.
though,
like,
they are
it happened
teenagers.
really fast.
They are teenagers.
That's not.
That's the only give is that we all remember being teenagers, and you're like, probably I would have. I would have probably risked it.
Yeah, but I wasn't a teenager who was pulled through a time warp from 1982 in New York.
See, you agree with me now.
Huge difference.
You agree with me now.
Did we ever find out what her name is? Is it Trixie? Because that would be like definitely an indicator she's been pulled from a time warp.
I don't think they even named anyone in the movie.
Not to say that the name Trixie is hookery, but like she definitely was a hooker. It was.
Well, maybe in her own time. Now she's just a honeypot.
It was very weird. Like, and again, she heard the happy birthday song and just got horny, and I was just like, this feels like it's happening very fast, just so we can get a couple of kills on the board.
That's what I mean. It was just body count. I was like, just take them out. Unless each animatronic monster is going to slaughter in a specific way.
Right.
Then give me the body.
That's another big missed opportunity is none of them did anything cool, like, in relation to their character.
Right.
Like, it was unfortunate. Like, there were.
You were saying, right, Carmelita, they were all serial killers, right? That was the joint?
Yeah, they're all.
That was my understanding, yeah.
Yeah, so those people all have methodologies. They don't just walk up and scratch you with a bear paw and they're like, oh, God, fantasy fulfilled.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, that's like.
I think that's the thing, and I agree. There's a lot more to be explored. And again, I don't mind that the movie was 80 minutes long, but the problem is
No. I'm not asking for another 20 minutes. I'm
not
asking to
for another
remove
20
all
minutes
the
of
teenagers.
backstory. What I'm asking for is that there's be some, for such a unique premise and for such a fun, like, conceit to a movie. I love Nicolas Cage, and I will watch Nicolas Cage in anything, but this movie particularly has a really good idea that never gets taken out for a ride. Other than getting to see Nicolas Cage be Nicolas Cage, I don't get the opportunity to see anything else in this movie that totally could work and add to the weirdness that is Nicolas Cage. Like, that's my thing is, in this movie, Nicolas Cage is the weirdest thing. And that, I think, is the trouble.
With satanic serial killing animatronics.
You're not wrong, though.
Wonderland, honestly, if there's one huge critique I have is that Nicolas Cage is the weirdest thing in it. And like, while Nicolas Cage
normally works a lot,
often the weirdest person in a movie, it's because there's something equally as weird on the other side. Like Mandy, the whole movie's weird. And Nicolas Cage is weird. It always balances itself out. Like, I never watch a movie and think, oh man, I'm never going to get to the end of this. But then I know because Nicolas Cage is just, he's going to carry it through no matter how weird it gets or how unweird it gets. It's when he's the only weird thing in a movie. Being weird for weird's sake, that's the trouble of getting through Willy's Wonderland, is you're not experiencing it the same way Nicolas Cage is experiencing it. And that is the benefit of a Nicolas Cage movie. He brings us in with his performance. We all are experiencing Nicolas Cage at that moment.
Yeah,
I'm having a real moment here.
It's a bummer
to bring up the rest of it to match.
Yes.
Yeah, but it's like, when's the next time I'm going to be in a satanic Chuck E. Cheese in a movie? Like, you got to run the thought experiment.
Take it out for a ride, man.
If you're doing the guy who's like suing corporate America, like that shit comes every year. Like you can go other directions. Yeah. This is a very specific thing.
Well,
and to me, it's like the fact that Nicolas Cage wins the fight so easily and they aren't varied. I think that's because he's this avenging spirit again. I thought of another piece of evidence I had written down I forgot to bring up. Did you wonder at the end why he used the two sticks tied together as his weapon?
No. I didn't.
So he's in an entire kitchen, right? That would have knives, meat pulverizer.
I didn't even think about it.
Whatever. Anything in there would be better than two fucking sticks that are broken tied together. I think that stick was the murder weapon on he who he's avenging. What if Willy cracked
okay.
that stick off on the victim? And that's what, because when he tied those two sticks together, I'm like, those are like two hot dog thin sticks that are like 2 feet long. Like, that's the worst weapon I've ever seen. And his bag of sodies. That feels like holy weapons, right?
Okay, I could see that. Like, but there it is right there. Again, like, without explaining anything, Nicolas Cage is Nicolas Cage. He's weird. And again, I don't have a problem with that. It's fun to watch. But without explaining that kind of stuff or not giving any backstory whatsoever, like, we all like characters without backstory. The Drifter is a great character. But like we talked about last week with Saint Maud, we didn't need to be told anything about Maud to know she was fucked up and kind of weird and ended up being a total monster. Like, but because that's the movie. The movie presents itself in that way. Nicolas Cage being a blank slate doesn't work because Nicolas Cage is not a blank slate. He's Nicolas fucking Cage. Like, he's every movie he's ever done put into one person. Like, that's just the energy he brings to all these movies.
Maybe that's the thing, though. Carmelita, I don't know if you agree with this, Carmelita. Maybe the problem is that if you have, like, The Rock in this movie, he is just the guy who gets caught and has to fight. Maybe Nicolas Cage can't help himself but makes such idiosyncratic decisions that it then opens it up for all this other speculation. I don't know. Do you think what I'm saying? Do you think the pieces are there? Do you think there are pieces there, or that he just makes us want answers to his weird behavior?
I mean, I think that they left enough things because we have all those idiosyncrasies. I mean, the human mind, we want to connect things. We want answers. They put them there. So they're leaving it open for us to interpret as we will. Some people will interpret it as, okay, it's Nicolas Cage being Nicolas Cage. Some people will interpret it as time travel, avenging, all this stuff. Some people, there's like all of the in between. So I think it leaves it open for that. Now, I think they could have done some more. You guys have made great points to that effect with the other characters to kind of bring them up to that same level. But yeah, they definitely, like, because there's all those little idiosyncrasies, it's just begging you to come up with a reason why.
Yeah.
My question is, what was left on the cutting room floor? Like, that to me, I think is like the key thing here in the movie is I think a big chunk of subplot got cut out of this movie. Like, the twist of, like, basically the town being in on it and feeding the spirit of Willy, essentially.
Yeah, that was really strange.
It's weird. Like, it's a choice, and I don't necessarily hate it. Like, it works for me because, again, by the time it's revealed, you're just, like, in the movie. So it's not one of those things where you're like, what? This?
You're just like, I still have 33 minutes on the clock. Okay.
Again, yeah, like, honestly, I think it was at the hour mark was when Beth Grant showed up and she's like, oh, I'm sorry, Willy. This ruffian's causing problems with the sacrifices. And you're like, none of this seems odd to me. Like, it's like the weirdest thing I've seen still is like Nicolas Cage habitually drinking soda pop and playing pinball. Like, that to me is what. So there's some huge chunk of the movie for me that's missing as far as like what I'm supposed to. I can't perceive anything from like whatever clues they've given us about Nicolas Cage. It's literally like 3. We know he likes his time regimented sodies. He likes sodies. And that he probably was an ex-military person of some kind.
And that he fucking loves pinball. Loves pinball. Yeah.
Loves
he does.
So, wait, I do want to dig in on this, though, because this is a really weird thing they added. Carl, what did you make of the town folks just being in on it?
I mean, I'm trying to think, because this has been done before, right?
Yes.
Well,
it's kind of Children of the Corn in a way, right? They're feeding He Who Lives Behind the Row.
Children of the Corn.
It reminds me, you know what it reminds me of? I'm a big X-Files fan.
Yes.
Yep.
Love X-Files.
It reminds me of the X-Files. It reminds me of the episode, and of course the name is completely, I'm embarrassed now because I know the name and I can't think of it. But anyways.
Oh man, the lone gunmen are coming after you.
gonna revoke my bet.
I can't even remember a character name, so I think you're okay.
Oh no.
No, we're fine.
So there's an episode where the whole town is in on this sacrifice. These sacrifices.
That's the one where they're like in the PTA.
And they're ritualistically eating the brains of the people they're sacrificing. The whole town is in on it.
Yeah, I remember that one.
So it's a lot like it reminded me of that. Like, so I've seen in other series or movies this idea that the preservation of the town, they'll make the choice, that classic trolley problem.
Right.
You know, you could toss a couple of sacrifices for the good of the town. Okay, we're willing to do that. So
well, it seems weird.
The way it was presented was a little.
It was a little haphazard. It comes
well,
out of nowhere.
they do a funny thing though. They actually must have seen this coming, because twice we see someone try to light a lighter in front of the building and can't do it. Right? Because I wrote down, I'm like, Chekhov's lighter. When the guy tried to light a cigar and it didn't work, right? That was the second lighter, and he threw it by the dumpster. Right. I was like, for sure, Cage is putting dumpster bodies over there. This thing is happening. And it did, but in a weird way, because when we see it ignite at the end, it was the pixie that did it. Yeah. So one of the damned souls can light a fire, but perhaps the town folk can't, right? But there's another thing. I don't know, because I'm starting to talk myself into it, because one of the things is when the sheriff talks about, well, we took people with devious lifestyles, people that wouldn't be missed. Maybe there's a bit of they're doing her job for her. You know what I mean? Maybe there's a bit of her that doesn't mind that Willy's fucking eating these people. I mean, granted, then we cut to like a family of three, and you're like, that sucks.
There's certainly a little quid pro quo there, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, like she doesn't seem to mind. Neither does the owner, who seems like he would mind, but he's like, I'm getting a free car out of it every time. So yeah,
he was really stoked on that car.
Wow,
because they almost seem upset when Nicolas Cage comes out victorious.
Oh, definitely.
And then they have to talk themselves into like, all right, we don't get the Ford full of energy drinks, but hey, we might be able to reopen.
But we can turn this fucking pedo palace back into a winning concept.
There's no way anyone will Google our new restaurant. Yeah. I don't know. I thought maybe, because it was weird to me that the sheriff didn't shoot Nicolas Cage in the leg.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? There's something about that was strange. Also, I'm going to let you run on this, Carmelita. That mixed with, why didn't all of the animatronic monsters just attack him at once? Why was Willy standing so vigilant?
I don't know.
I know, right? It's like the Bruce Lee movie problem.
It's a video game.
Yeah.
Why are you taking turns getting kicked in the face? Fucking brush his ass.
Yeah, I mean, and I think that's I think that's kind of the thing about this movie is it feels like a vehicle to watch Nicolas Cage kick ass.
Yeah.
And so, everything is in service to that goal. Yeah. And because really, if you pose the question, I don't have a good answer for you. I don't know why they don't all just attack in a frenzy all at once.
Yeah.
Maybe because they're serial killers and they prefer to kill alone, but that's a stretch.
Yeah, because it's maybe because the gorilla jumps him in the bathroom, that's where the gorilla committed his crimes.
Right.
Maybe so, but then you see a couple of them walk between multiple rooms, right? So, I don't know, man. There was something about, too, just watching him clean that whole bathroom and then him urinal stomping that gorilla that made me so angry.
I was so
that's
upset.
A lot of cleanup.
Oh, can I actually, I gotta say, I legitimately got through this movie, and towards the end, I'm like, I'm going to tell you right now, I was watching with Andrea and two of our friends over Zoom, and I was like, I'm going to tell you right now, if this movie gets to the end and he didn't clean that whole motherfucking place, I'm going to be so pissed off. If he leaves it messed up, I'm going to be so mad. Such a weird critique. It's a weird thing. I feel like he was
there to clean up
I don't even know why I cared that it was
demonic
clean.
Souls. He's there to clean up Satanists, not Windows.
Tell me that's not the saddest thing about getting older is I literally was getting physically upset that he was cleaning and then having to re-clean stuff.
That's the worst.
Or then just being that spray would never get that off. Ugh.
Yeah, no.
You thought that too?
Yeah, I was like, you're not spraying spray paint off. Like, that's not a thing, right?
Dude, the whole time I was just like, okay, where do they get this cleaner?
Yeah, that cleaner was
people.
amazing. It's like Goo Gone. It was incredible.
Yeah.
Cleaned everything.
I'm ashamed to admit that did cross my mind. Oh, I've been in those aisles. No way. That's so lame. Maybe I need more energy drinks. Get hyped up and just go for it. I liked how he just got to it.
Yeah,
he just matter-of-factly, like I'm doing. It's because he loved Willy's.
And this takes us back to your concept. I would agree that the Nick Cage backstory works here as a vengeance movie. Like, I totally get it. I'm on board. I'm not on board with the time travel stuff, but other than that, it works.
You add the serial killer backstory, and you fully unleash Cage to actually, like, I don't know, like Shakespearean yell at these fucking monsters. Like, I think my takeaway from this movie mostly, right, is I'm like, there is tons of fun to have.
Yes.
I think it's the fun thing is, like, he's just, like, when he dances in front of that vending machine or that pinball machine and his hair is, like, whipping, like it's heavenly wind, you're like,
yes,
yeah, I love that. Like, there's just so much fun stuff and weird stuff that it works. I think my final thought, though, is I was like, I think there was a great movie.
Yes.
Like, a great, great movie that was the perfect guy with the perfect kind of elevator pitch movie. And I think they shorted it. I don't think they believed all the way in, and they just kind of went for filler stuff. And I would love to know, like, had they just really unleashed Nicolas Cage in a satanic Chuck E. Cheese? That's what I was promised.
Right.
That's not what I got. He didn't have worthy adversaries. He didn't get to do his, like, you know, A, B, C, D. Like, you know, he didn't get his like, thing that you want to see him do. And it's weird because he's still by far the best part of the movie.
Oh, hands down.
I mean, I think that's part of the problem. Like, this might be the movie you look at and go, is it possible to have too much Cage in a movie? Untrue. It's not possible. But here's the problem. What you have to have is a counterbalance to the Cage. No matter how minuscule you have to have something to balance out whatever Nicolas Cage is doing in the movie. And I think the problem with Willy's Wonderland is there's not enough of that. The concept is weird, but there's not enough weirdness going on for Nicolas Cage to counteract to.
You have to shrink 100%. Cage down to fit in. Isn't that an insane thing to say in the serial killer Satan cult child's restaurant movie?
It's bizarre.
They needed to push it just that little bit further.
I agree too.
Agreed.
No, I agree. I think maybe they were counting on what Cage would bring to it.
Yeah.
And they didn't push those other elements.
Yeah, maybe
they didn't know how to
when the
actually
frogs started
uncage
bargaining,
Cage.
right? The frog's like, I'm not like them. I'm different. I was like, okay, now we're changing up our protocols. Like,
yes,
something's about to go down.
That
or
was
when
cool.
he came out of the Lazarus ball pit, I was like, oh, now it's Cage Unleashed all the way. He just got more duct tape in the stick of his fallen loved one.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I feel like it sounds like I'm saying I didn't love my time with Willy's, and that's a lie. Because this is the kind of movie you always want to find. It's just I think it's rare that this kind of a movie, right? We all know about what this movie is going to be going in. Very rarely, a movie that has this trajectory absolutely takes flight. And it becomes so much more than it should have been because of the sum of its parts. And I think this one had all those ingredients, and it just kind of got bogged down.
Just misses. It's like missing like 15%. 15% more, and we would have had this
all you have to do is
Nicolas
kick
Cage.
the dead weight of those teenagers out of the cabin, and this thing fucking flies. I feel bad saying it. I don't know. Carmelita, what was your final thought? We'll let you wrap us out. Your final thought on your Willy's experience.
You know, I would say, for me, I could ignore all the lens flares. I could kind of.
I thought those were on purpose.
I could kind of check out on some of the teenagers because there's just this quirky energy about this movie. I do agree. I think they could have taken it even further. And I would have loved to have seen that. But that's not the movie that we got. This is the movie that we got.
That's right.
And it was a fun ride. It was a fun watch. It was not taxing in any way.
No.
And you get to enjoy this really interesting character that Nicolas Cage plays. And we get to watch animatronic creepy dolls get murdered. And I mean, at the end of the day, what more could I ask for? Really.
It's true. Well, you said it really well off air. I wanted to give you credit again where you're like, because I was like, I don't know that this was worth $20 to rent, right? And you said it best. The way I'm going to remember it is, I'm not paying $20 just for Willy. It's an investment in the bank of Cage.
Yeah.
That we will keep
Agreed.
getting this kind of movie with Nicolas Cage. And to that, I will give all the monies all the time. And I feel like that is a great and noble cause. So I thought it was a brilliant way to put it, for sure.
Yes.
Invest in Nicolas Cage's career. Keep him working.
Yes.
He
The
is a national
returns-
treasure.
That's right.
It pays dividends.
All right, guys. That's it for Willy's Wonder. I don't know. I still have questions, I feel like, and I just have to assume they'll never be answered. I know. I think the listeners are like, how do you have so many questions? What is it like watching Willy's Wonderland and being that stupid? Anyway, don't worry about that. Leave us 5 stars, ratings, and reviews. Subscribe to the YouTube. Find us on all the social media you're on. Carmelita, would you like to tell the people where they can find you?
Sure. I am on Twitter. I'm also on Letterboxd. Same handle, Carmelita Says.
All right, and I'll make sure all that's in the show notes and details, guys. Make sure you find Carmelita and follow. You are absolutely one of our favorites. Thank you so much for giving some of your time to the Nicolas Cage cause.
Thank you for giving me the opportunity to love on Nicolas Cage in a public forum.
Nicola, we love you, Nicola.
Nicola. Mwah, mwah, mwah.